Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. I'm so happy to be here with one of my actually really good friends and colleagues. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. I'm so happy to be here with one of my actually really good friends and colleagues. We've been on a journey together over the past few years through health and healing, and she inspires me all the time with the work that she does, particularly in the field of yoga, which, I've talked on here before about how important movement is and finding movement that feels good to your body. And most of us honestly need some yoga in our lives, especially if we are into that go, 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 right? We need to bring it down a few notches, get into our parasympathetic nervous systems, and
Mm.
yoga helps so much with that. So I want to welcome Amber Kleid, who is a yoga practitioner who loves to help others find ways to feel good in their own bodies by movement, breath, fun exploration, and lots of encouragement. In
Mm.
2013, she was diagnosed with lupus and needed to make some serious lifestyle changes. Instead of going to the gym, she turned to a consistent yoga practice, which we will talk a lot about today. So you can find her at her website, kaleidoscopestudio.com, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Kaleidoscope Yoga for online classes and personal sessions. And all of that will be in the notes if you want to just click on over. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. You inspire me every day.
Oh, well, it's good to have people in our lives, right, that inspire each other. And as we continue to both grow on this path of healing ourselves and supporting others in their healing process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I always have found it fascinating because I think when I first knew you, I had no idea that you had lupus, right? It's not something that is very obvious with you. And yet it is this thing that moved you into kind of this healing space. So, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I had no idea. I was doing radio and I was
Mm.
doing mornings. So I was getting up at 4:30 every morning. And I found myself in the middle of the day just, my energy just drastically like reduced. And I knew something was wrong. And I went to the doctors and I got tested, for diabetes and stuff because it runs in my
Mm.
family. And they were like, "Oh no, you're as healthy as a horse." I'm like, "No, I know
You're like,
my
actually,
body."
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, so I finally found a doctor that I really resonated with, and she did some blood tests and found out that I had lupus, which
Mm.
I later found out that my dad had. It
Oh,
would have been
wow.
nice
Okay.
to know,
Right.
but
Right. Would have been
yeah.
helpful.
But I have been so lucky, Christine, because I've heard so many stories of, lupus. It can be a what's the word I'm looking for?
Debilitating.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
disease
Totally.
for
Hmm.
some people,
Yeah.
And when I found out that I had it, I nipped it in the butt, in the bud, excuse me.
But I kind of like butt too. Both ways.
I yeah. So I stopped doing eating what was inflammatory foods, no gluten,
Hmm.
no dairy, no soy
Hmm.
for me.
And can I
Um,
just put like really quick interject? This is something that is so important for autoimmunity as a
oh my
whole,
gosh, it's a life changer.
and a lot of people are, well, I don't want to say a lot of people, but some people, especially some of my clients, will come to me and they have autoimmune issues, whether Hashimoto's or, any of the other ones. And really don't want to give up gluten. And, they really wonder if they have to give up gluten for the long term. And I'm like, trust me, it will make such a huge difference if you do.
Well, it's funny. So I didn't eat gluten for about 7 years.
Hmm.
And then somebody left some cookies in the
Hmm.
office where I worked, and I
Hmm.
decided to eat one. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'm okay. And then
Hmm.
I ate another. And then after about a month, I started to
Hmm.
get a rash on my face, like a lizardy, weird, creepy rash. And
Oh,
then I
wow.
stopped and it went away. So yeah, it like presented itself differently the second
Yeah.
time around.
Yeah.
But it has been a game changer for me, especially with joint pain.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, there were times at night where I couldn't even sleep because my hips were hurting so badly.
Mm-mm.
Um,
And yeah, it can take up to 6 months for your body to heal from any gluten reaction that you've had too. Like
Oh,
if you've had, I know, right? It's
yeah.
pretty crazy. But anyways, continue.
Yeah. 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 It's nuts. Um, So yeah, so after that, I mean, I started feeling better, and my doctor told me, because I'm one of those people, when I go to the gym, I bust ass. Like I
Hmm.
walk out of there sweaty, red-faced, dripping,
Hmm.
and she's like, you can't do that anymore because you're
Hmm.
exhausting yourself, and your body's kind of attacking itself,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So I had been doing yoga since the 90s, but it kind of sporadically here and there. I took classes here and there. And then I finally decided, I want to do it every day. And so I started a home practice. And, I did that 7 days a week. And then there was a studio that opened up in town, and I started going there. And I just really started to fall in love with it, not just physically, because one of the things that I was worried about was I wasn't going to feel strong because I
Hmm.
wasn't lifting weights.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was so wrong.
Hmm.
I felt amazing, I mean,
Hmm.
connecting the body with the breath and the movement. I mean, there's nothing better,
It's like strength and flexibility that you get
Yes.
with yoga. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a natural high, when
Hmm.
you have a good class, when you connect with that. But spiritually, I'm telling you, over the years, like I have just changed, like my outlook
Mm.
on things, and I I don't react as much as I used
Hmm.
to. I think before I talk. I
Hmm.
really consider other people, and with my
Imagine
I
that.
know.
We need
Well,
more of that in the world right now.
we really do. But my story goes back to, like childhood trauma, like a lot of people do or have, and just being controlled.
Hmm.
And so I always tried to control everything to,
Hmm.
keep the ball in my court.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only is it exhausting, but it's just ridiculous. You can't
Impossible.
do
Yeah.
it. It is
Hmm.
impossible. And so, with my yoga practice, I finally was able to let that go, and I'm
Hmm.
not saying I don't get upset over anything,
Sure. Right.
know,
Right. Yeah.
but I have these tools now that when I start to feel overwhelmed, or I start to feel angry, or, whatever it is, I can sit with it, and I can,
Hmm.
find other ways to work through it. And,
Hmm.
sometimes that's with the physical asana. Sometimes, I sit and I try to connect with spirit. I mean, it just kind of depends on the situation that I'm in.
And,
Yeah.
when I think of autoimmunity, first of all, we know that it hits women more often than it hits men.
Hmm.
And I see this with clients that autoimmune disorders are often triggered by some deep trauma, right? That happened
Yes,
probably when they were a
absolutely.
child
Yeah.
and they didn't have control. And so they've tried to handle and be in control in their lives since that. And that kind of sets it up for that sort of, attacking on the self because you can't you can't control everything, right? And in your I
Absolutely.
mean, tying it into something we talk about all the time on this podcast is our adrenal function, right? Because when we're stressed all the time and we're on that high cortisol train, our body actually goes into deep inflammation mode. And the
Hmm.
more we try and control, the more inflammatory situation becomes. And finally, I mean, there's so many unanswered questions about autoimmunity, but I think I see that body, because it's like, well, I can't control all these outside situations. So I'm going to turn this control in on myself.
Yeah.
And
And the
then
body remembers everything.
yeah, yeah. And then,
Everything.
you have kind of no choice at that point but to make some changes, right? If you're going to handle your autoimmunity in any kind of way, So,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
do you feel like really that I don't want to say strict yoga practice, but that very consistent yoga practice was probably the biggest shift for you in terms of working with lupus?
Absolutely. Yeah. That and the food.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, I, took my yoga teacher training
Mm-hmm.
4 years later, 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then that just shifted all sorts of other stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
because they say autoimmune, stay away from stress. It was the one thing my doctor
Mm-hmm.
said, stay out of a stressful situation. Because if I get triggered, I get exhausted. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I can barely get out of bed. Like if my lupus is cycling,
Right, right,
you
right,
know.
right. Mm-hmm.
So I have to be really careful about that. um, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, so you went to yoga school, you were
Oh,
saying.
yes.
Yeah.
So I was in a corporate career,
Mm-hmm.
and literally 2 months into my training, I'm like, this is crap. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to do this anymore to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I was sitting behind a desk in an office with no windows. I mean, who the hell
Yeah.
wants to do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
B, I was always trying to please these people that had no appreciation for what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
getting out of that really put me on a path to, I think, I've always wanted to help people. And
Mm-hmm.
you've been such an inspiration in that. All the
Oh.
courses that I've taken with you in the past and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've always wanted to help people, and this has kind of just morphed into an opportunity for me to do that.
And I think that's ultimately why we go through, the health trials and pain that we go through, right? So
Yeah.
to all the people out there that are having, these experiences in their lives, it is there to teach you something, right? It's there to shift your own life. A lot of times you will end up impacting others and shifting their lives too. So it's not all for naught. It really is calling you home in so many
It,
ways.
it is such a beautiful thing how the puzzle pieces fall, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, how do you feel like you've become more, empowered in this process? Because I think so many women don't feel maybe in their power or
Wow.
struggling to find their way.
Let me tell you a story, Christine.
All right. Tell me a story.
So, along with this path
hmm
of yoga,
hmm
um, you whether you want to or not, I think you find this place of self-inquiry.
hmm
It just happens.
hmm
You spend a lot of time with your body, your breath, your
hmm
movement. You really start to learn more about yourself. So, I'm a victim of childhood sexual abuse. And, all my life I carried it. And I always played the victim. Like, if my relationships were screwed up, I was like, oh, it's because of this. I'm broken.
mm
I'm broken. I'm broken. And then finally, I, and this was probably about 3 or 4 years after my yoga practice became very serious. I was like, I'm tired of this. And I
hmm
actually went to my abuser, um, and I asked him why.
mm
I found an opportunity. I found the power within myself to be compassionate
mm
because,
Wow.
well, I came to this place to realize that people who hurt are hurting.
Yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I had to kind of look at this in a way that he was an adult, he knew better,
hmm
but what made him make that decision?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
hmm
The conversation kind of sort of didn't go very well, but
mm
it was out there.
hmm hmm
And and I was able to go to him and be like, "Look, I'm here. I don't want to judge you. I
mm
just want to know.
Right.
Please let me know, what is it in your life that, and he honestly didn't know. But the thing was is he agreed to go see a psychiatrist.
Wow. So he admitted to it. He
Oh
fessed
yeah,
up to it. Yeah.
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 I mean, there was, and that was one thing. I mean, I wrote him a letter, and he lives in a different state, and I was like, I want to come visit you. This is why. There's no judgment here. We know what happened. It's on the
Mm-hmm.
table.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he did, and he found out some stuff, and he cried to me, and he's like, I didn't want to know that. I loved he was abused as well, and he's like, I
Mm-hmm.
really loved that person, and I was like, I know,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. So really you were able to, as we know, if we've been abused, often that abuse can be forwarded on, whether with our, in our
Yeah,
families or relationships. And so you really broke that cycle by coming to your, going to your abuser and saying this
yeah,
is what was up, right?
yeah.
So that's huge.
It was huge, and it really, when I finally got to the point, no, I didn't forgive him right away.
hmm
It took me like a good year, but when I was finally able to sit with him and I said, "Look, I forgive you, and here's why."
hmm
what has happened to me in my life has made me the person I am today.
Mm.
And if I can turn around and if I can help other women
Mm-hmm.
with this experience or, trauma in general,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, you have to turn around and I mean it's a gift,
Yeah.
My experience was valid
Mm-hmm.
and I came out on the other side and our relationship now it's interesting. It's not like we call each other up or anything, but when
Mm-hmm.
we run into each other, it's like I don't it's so much in between us now. There's so much separation. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
feel a part of that anymore. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
really truly moved on and had I known to do this inner work
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so interesting because yoga kept popping up into my life since my early 20s and I
Mm.
just,
Yeah.
you just
You're not always ready in your 20s to like
no,
take on this work, right? I mean, I know the
no.
same is true for me, so I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely the older you get, more tired you become of the shit that you let yourself put up with.
right, right. And you kind of, hit a wall, really. It's like I'm either going to do this or I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life, right? I'm going to be
Yeah,
stuck. And
absolutely.
that's not what we came here for, right?
No, no, man, we got stuff to do. Places to go, people to meet.
Yeah. So, the thing about trauma, I think that can be tough is also working with it in a safe container,
Mhm.
right? Because obviously, all of us have trauma that will be triggered in different ways and at different times and to, different extent. So how do you feel like, you can really, I mean, this is kind of a hard question because it's so individual, but how do you feel like people can approach working with trauma, maybe, through yoga, through these different ways in a safe container?
Through yoga,
Hmm.
and definitely through yoga.
Hmm.
But one of the big things that I learned is you can't do it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All of the courses and downloads and books and all the articles you read and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's you need accountability
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you need to be in that place where you're ready to do the work and the work is hard and it sucks, but holy crap when you
Mm-hmm.
are able to find that ray of sunshine, that light at the end of the tunnel, I mean it's all worth it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's scary,
Mm-hmm.
but there's lots and lots of tools out there
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are simple, not always easy, but that you can, do a nice little deep dive into you
Mm-hmm.
and pull stuff out and really
Mm-hmm.
get to know yourself and you can start to set those healthy boundaries. You can start to notice what triggers you, and you can say no if you don't feel comfortable in a situation,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't like this. I don't want to do it. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to feel bad about that. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to carry that guilt. That happened in whatever trauma it was that you experienced. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt that forever. Like I always was a people pleaser. I always had guilt if I said no, no matter what it
Mm-hmm.
was. And it's like I have just gotten to this point where it's like I really have to value my time.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is if you value your time and you respect your time, you're going to value and respect the other person as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a two-sided, and they may not see that. You know what? That's not your problem.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, I see boundaries as probably the number one issue with people that come to me. And I get this because I have struggled for so many years with boundaries too. I think as women in general, we struggle with boundaries, right? Because we
Great.
are, taught to people please. We are told that it's innate in women to take care of others. I mean, there's so many messages coming at us that way, along with whatever trauma we've experienced. And so we get really stuck in that cycle of like giving, 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 over giving, feeling guilty if we don't give enough, and it's killing our bodies. It really is. And I mean, this is why I will tell clients all the time, like, you can take all the supplements in the world, you can do all the dietary changes in the world, but if you don't start setting boundaries, like, your health is not going to get to where you want it to go. It's
Yeah.
just not. Yeah,
And sleep is a huge one for that too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I started a couple of years ago, I started making sure that went to bed at 11
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
wake up at 7. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually my body, I just do it. I don't even need an alarm anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel rested. I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
Huge, absolutely. And, I
Mhm.
think sleep plays so much into that adrenal function and even the ability to set boundaries and everything too. It's like that is a great boundary to start with, right? Setting that for yourself with your sleep, no matter what's
Absolutely.
happening in your life.
Yeah.
And that's hard for people, it's really hard for people to get that one in check. So you can do that. You can do anything.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you know what? It clears your mind and your decision-making skills become better. I
Yeah.
mean, you can think on your feet clearer,
Yeah.
and not for this conversation, but a lot of it goes into, I mean, the food you eat too.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Like if you are tired, your cravings are going to be different, because you're going to
Hmm.
want that sugar to give you some, or caffeine to give you some instantaneous
Yeah.
energy. And yeah, we go on and on from there, which is a different conversation, but
Yeah, we can have that conversation later.
absolutely. So, what other forms of support, like, I definitely love like EFT and the form
Mhm.
of therapy that I use, that I go to a therapist for, which I've talked about on here and it was part of the hormone summit, is AIT, and so these things, I feel like we have to have these tools in our back pocket, right? And we have to use them, obviously, because if we don't use them, it's not going to get
Absolutely.
us anywhere. So, what are some of the ways that you recommend for people to sort of support this trauma healing?
Meditation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Meditation. And I know some people are like, I can't sit
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
My brain won't shut off. Believe me, I know. I meditate every day, at least for
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 days out of 7, I can't check out.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
got to let my brain go. And sometimes that helps. It just kind of filters stuff out. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
thoughts, just things. But meditation, I mean, if you can sit with an intention, if you want, light a candle, some incense, get yourself
Mm-hmm.
cozy, ground down. You can, relax laying down or sit down. And um, like Insight Timer is what I use. It's a
Yeah.
great
I
meditation.
love it. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
so good. And there's lots of other ones out there, but you can, I personally like guided meditations because
Mm-hmm.
that helps me keep my brain in check,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but they offer all sorts of stuff. And, 2 minutes to 5 minutes a day if you're beginning, just,
Mm-hmm.
like anything else, little bite-sized pieces. So you can kind of get a feel for what really feels, good for you and your mind and your body. Because sometimes it's hard for people to sit still.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, I agree. I
Yeah.
think that's what people, people come back at me a lot of times. They're like, but my brain is just going.
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, that sympathetic nervous system that you're kicking around in. So we're
totally.
trying to take you out of that a little bit.
And, stay away as much as you can from the news.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And social media. I mean,
mm-hmm,
I know this day and age when we're not really able to get out and be with the ones that we love so much. I know
mm-hmm,
Facebook and Instagram a great opportunity for that,
mm-hmm.
but you get sucked into that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and there are people on there that they don't have a good intention when they're
Yeah.
putting stuff out. And people
Mm-hmm,
get caught up in that, even though it's not their business,
mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
mean,
And even, we all know that, okay, so most of us are going to be on social media to a certain extent, but, things like Instagram, I think it's easier to kind of cultivate, right? That you're following people that are bringing
yes.
positive messages out
Yeah.
and that are not just positive, because that word, we need to work with our shadow too, but something that things that feel supportive to your
Yeah,
journey,
absolutely.
so yeah.
It's much easier to do on Instagram, but
Mhm.
just things like that, just you take a rest from
Hmm.
those kinds of things, just day to day. And
Hmm.
I do Reiki on myself every day. If
Mm.
you have that opportunity, or you know somebody that does Reiki, I mean, I can always do distance healing for people if they want.
Very
I do
cool.
it for my mom every week. She loves it, you
That's
know.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really sweet. And I learned this new modality to align the chakras too. So I've been working with her with that, and it
Very
just
cool.
just like
Yeah.
she's trying to talk my dad into it too, but he's not quite.
Not quite there yet.
He's
Yeah.
not quite
Yeah.
there yet, but I think he will be.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it when there's, I think maybe women in general, but like the generational gap when it comes to like energy, healings is lessening, right? Like just like our mother's generation is much more open, I feel like, to that kind of stuff than they would have even been a few years ago, you know?
Yeah,
They're like,
absolutely.
okay. So I know that you have a program that is coming up in early 2021
I
that's
do.
really taking all of the stuff that we've talked about today and kind of putting it together, right? So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I would love to. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I feel like everything I've done in my life has kind of come to a head with this program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a program for women.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's based around. So when I wrote the curriculum for it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and when I wrote my master class, which we can mention in a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
I realized this is me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is totally me.
Mm-hmm.
So for any women that have trouble voicing them, or, using their voice in anything, they can't. Uh, they can't find ways to distress. They have low self-esteem. I can't tell you. I loathed my body up until
Mm-hmm.
recently,
Mm-hmm.
until this whole thing started to happen, and when I really started to take care of it and nurture it, like that's another thing that yoga really helped me with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just as a side note with that, I have an eating disorder on top of all this
Mm.
other crap,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
I am 150 days no sugar,
That's
and
amazing.
it has
Yeah.
changed my life.
Yeah.
It has changed my life. But, I just, in this program, I have two people working with me. Two of my friends that actually helped me along on my journey and really unlocked a lot of stuff for me. And one
Mhm.
of them is a life coach, and she works with resilience and goal setting and energy
Nice.
management. And then the other one, she, so they're both they both have yoga backgrounds, but the other one, her name is Mara, and she is all of 4'11". She walks over fire. I
Nice.
mean, she's amazing. She uses like energy psychology. She does art therapy. Um, Visualization, all sorts of amazing things that can help the individual, like just notice and break through and, confront things in a very compassionate, kind manner.
Mhm.
So in the program, it's 12 weeks long. It's going to
Mhm.
kick off February 1st. And so you'll have 12 weeks of private yoga sessions. And then you'll also have sessions both with Sonia and Maura to help
Nice.
get your goals aligned for the next year, or, whatever, for the next 2 weeks, if that's all
Yeah.
you can handle at the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's it.
Yeah.
And then with Maura, she's going to dive deep into that spirituality stuff and really, yeah, I'm so excited. It's
Yeah.
going to be so much fun. But each week is going to be different, and we're going to start out learning the base of yoga,
Mm.
the 8 limbs of yoga. And I think that is so important because it once you start to learn it, it starts to become a lifestyle, and you start to realize when you're not, respecting yourself, or you're not
Mm.
respecting other people. And it's such
Mhm.
a beautiful way to live. And
Mhm.
it's not, I'm not 100% yogic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very hard to be. And boy, I
Mhm.
wish it's something to strive for sure. But having that base and just recognizing, all these beautiful things that you could do for
Mm.
yourself and for other people. Just by noticing what's
Mm-hmm.
happening around you and being aware,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
you start to open to all these possibilities of drawing in more abundance. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is with whatever you want. I mean, money, love,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
once you open that up and realize that, my gosh, I deserve this. It's so
Mm-hmm.
hard for women to say that
Yeah.
they deserve anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we do.
Yeah. And we need, I think now we need support around really tapping into that more than ever before, right? Because of everything that's going on in the world and COVID and so
So many
much
triggers.
being put on women, right? That especially that have kids and all those kinds of things. And so it's hard to sort of be in that maybe for some women right now. So a program like this could be very helpful to be able to
Absolutely.
tap into that and then have that like you said, much needed support to kind of
Yeah,
keep you on track and accountable because I mean, this is, all of us as human beings, we need accountability. It just does, yeah, it's not
absolutely.
going to happen on its own.
Well, and I found that works best for me because I was that
Mm-hmm.
person that would download all the free stuff or, book
Mm-hmm.
after book. And it was like I just never really moved forward with it.
Yeah.
A few things stuck with me here and there. But when you have somebody that, that has already walked the walk,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't know, what is it? You only know what you know.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you go to somebody who knows what you don't know,
Yeah.
you guys can work together and, find out what really truly works.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, this program, there's 4 modules. Every 3 weeks has a different theme that we build up. And I mean, it's just a beautiful program. And a lot of support, group support as well
Mm-hmm.
as individual support. And it's just, I'm so excited for it.
Oh, I love it. It sounds amazing. So
Thank you.
excited that you're, putting that out in the world for people now more than ever too. So, and then you mentioned about a master class coming up.
Yeah, so the master class, it's free and it's
Nice.
just an opera. Yeah, and it's got some great tools. It's called Embodying Your Power and Embracing Abundance Without Feeling Guilty.
Love
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I really found that guilt was such an underlying emotion for me that kept me from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's really important. So in the master class, you learn how to set some simple boundaries and all sorts of really good stuff. So
Super cool. So if people go to your website and sign up on your email list, they'll find out about when that masterclass happens.
yes, yes,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
I can email them and give them all the information and all that good
Perfect.
stuff. And like I said, it starts February 1st.
Okay.
The master class, I'm probably going to have it out within the next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you can check out the notes, which will have the link directly to Amber's website. So you can get on there, sign up, make sure you're on her email list so that you will get notified about this awesome masterclass free option coming up. I love it.
Yeah, free's always good, you
It
guys.
is, and
Yeah.
really like, yeah, bringing it all together for people too. So it's awesome. Amber, thank you so much for being here today with us. It's been
Thank you.
so great to talk to you as always.
I know.
I'm happy that you're sharing your story so freely because I think it's very inspiring for people to see that, especially with something as intense as sexual trauma, which so many women have experienced. I
Oh my
mean,
gosh, the
what, one in three
statistics
or
are
something?
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that you can really come to the other side of that, that it doesn't have to be something that you have to stay a victim of forever, right?
No, no.
Yeah,
And I'm just a normal person.
yeah, yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I can do it, I,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just learning the tools and being able to use those,
Mm-hmm.
when you get
Mm-hmm.
the triggers and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff and having people that you can rely on and count on.
Yeah, absolutely. All
Mm.
right, Amber, thanks again for
Thank
being here with
you.
us today.
You're
And
so welcome.
I will see you guys next time.
Thank you.